Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our revered speaker for today, His Holiness DAYANANDA SWAMI MAHARAJ. And all glories to the Assembled Vaishnavi devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here as always. Today is Friday, the last day of the busy week, and we're fortunate we have His Holiness with us today. Maharaj, you're welcome back to your home, Hare Krishna, Africa. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for being here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. It's always blissful to have your association and darshan. Thank you so much.
Thank you for yours.
Yeah. So, Maharaj, without further ado, we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from here.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Oh, excuse me, Maharaj, you're speaking from London?
Yeah. Well, Manchester.
Oh,
Same
Manchester. Manchester, okay. Good. Let's see here. Okay, Maharaj, thank you.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 9, text number 13. I think I've got the wrong one, just a minute. Hare Krishna. Mm. 3:9:13. I think, what have I got? Anyway, we'll have to carry on. I read up the wrong verse. I had a class this morning and I got mixed up, so we'll do as best.
Oh, sorry, Maharaj.
Yeah, my fault. I got mixed up with the class this morning. Pumsam ato vivida kamavir avardayar danena chagra tapasa paricharya cha aradanam bhagavatastava satkriyarto dharma vitakar hichit nichate nayatra. Pumsam of the people, ataha therefore, vivida karma bihi by various fruitive activities, advara adhyai by performance of Vedic rituals, danena by charities, cha and ugra very hard, tapasa austerity, paricharya by transcendental service, cha also Aradhanam, worship, Bhagavata, the personality of Godhead, Tava, your, Satkriya Artaha, simply for pleasing your Lordship, Dharmaha, religion, Arpitaha, so offered, Karhichit, at any time, Mriyate, vanquishes, Na, never. Yatra, there. But the pious activities of the people, such as performance of Vedic rituals, charity, austere penances, and transcendental service, performed with a view to worship you and satisfy you by offering you the fruitive results, are also beneficial. Such acts of religion never go in vain. The poet, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Absolute devotional service conducted in 9 different spiritual activities, hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, praying, etc., does not always appeal to people with a pompous nature. They are more attracted by the Vedic superficial rituals and other costly performances of social religious shows. But the process, according to the Vedic injunction, is that the fruits of all pious activities should be offered to the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 9:27, the Lord demands that whatever one may do in one's daily activities, such as worship, sacrifice, and offering charity, all the results should be offered to him only. This offering of the results of pious acts unto the Supreme Lord is a sign of devotional service to the Lord and is of permanent value, whereas enjoying the same results for oneself is only temporary. Anything done on account of the Lord is a permanent asset and accumulates in the form of unseen piety for gradual promotion to the unallied devotional service of the Lord. These undetected pious activities will one day result in full-fledged devotional service by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, any pious act done on account of the Supreme Lord is also recommended here for those who are not pure devotees. Om Gyanantimirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swavadantikam Andeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sarvajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Raghunathamitam Tam Sam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Sina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishvari Vishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadha Sri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah. So there's 2 kinds of piety, punya karma. One is material pious activities. But actually there's no material pious activities really. Everything is described in Srimad Bhagavatam that it's nimitta karma. This means that it's done for one's personal, physical or mental or even intellectual pleasure. So the result is that that type of pious activity may elevate us materially and give us a better opportunity in life, but it's not necessarily directly spiritually benefit. But it has benefit in one respect that we're advised, even if we can't do anything else, to perform material piety. This is what most religions actually function on morality. And, at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that he is the supreme morality. Whether there's Arjuna and Krishna, there'll be, extraordinary power and morality is mentioned. And so this is real morality, to always, Sarvadharma Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja, to surrender to Krishna. And he said abandon all other varieties of religion because they actually have some material motivation in them. But by virtue that they are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, we can understand that there is benefit. That, even in material life, people may give something for building a hospital or a dharmshala in India or so many other pious activities, which actually purify the heart to some degree. They are actually called mode of goodness activities. So they raise us to a mode of nature whereby we can actually, see things in proper perspective, Bhagavad Gita says. We see things from the point of goodness, which means we see things actually as they are in the material world, at least. Whereas the lower modes of passion and ignorance, passion, it's sort of confusing. We don't know what is religion and what is not religion. We confuse the two. And ignorance means we always get it the wrong way around. We see irreligion as religion and religion as religion and religion as irreligion, sorry. So everything is meant to gradually elevate people to a higher quality of life. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains this in his, I think it's in the, not Jivadon, the other one. Anyway, he explains that piety means performing one's duties according to one's social position and endeavouring to raise one's pious activities to the next level. This is called piety. Impiety is not making that effort. Because what it actually means, if we're not making an effort, we don't understand we have to advance in life, we have to improve ourselves. So we remain on the platform of just trying to enjoy the situation. So this is called impiety. And so once we start to go forward, then, the whole purpose is that in the mode of goodness is symptomized by knowledge. So Krishna's in the heart and he reveals more information according to our particular mentality so that we can see a little bit clearer and understand the goal of life eventually. So everything has to be done gradually. Krishna won't reveal something which we're not ready for because it will have the opposite effect. If we're not ready for it, it will either become blasphemous or feel, overburdened by what is expected of us. I was listening to one during the lockdown. I used to listen to a lot of different things which I wouldn't ordinarily listen to, all by devotees, of course. And one devotee, they call him Jake Emmeline. He's actually a devotee in London and he's a musician. And he was singing one song and he was, you could tell by the lyrics in the song and the mood that he was singing about he's tried his best in devotional service, but it just wasn't enough. In other words, he was more or less, it's not enough. He thought he'd done enough, but more was expected of him. And so we'll all come to that point anyway, where we need to make that go that extra mile or extra yard to serve Krishna in a more surrendered way. But if we're actually given too much, just like that song, it says that, we finish up just thinking, forget it, it's just too much. So Krishna is very, very kind. He's created so many different processes, particularly for every individual. So that this is what this verse is saying, is that, whatever we perform, if it's actually according to Shastra, then we'll gradually advance. This is explained in Bhagavad Gita, that it talks about devotional service in the 12th chapter. And first of all, it explains what pure devotional service is in the first. Well, first of all, it actually explains the difference between the impersonalist philosophy and the personal philosophy. And, Krishna's making the point that, personal philosophy is far more superior. But then it starts to talk about, bhakti yoga, and it first of all explains what is pure devotional service. And then it gives the symptoms of one who's on pure devotional service. And then it says that if we haven't got those symptoms, if we're not capable of doing that, and what it means is that it spontaneously springs from the heart. This is real service, when it's not actually forced by rules and regulations. When it naturally comes from the heart, that's what Krishna wants. It's called Ragatmika Bhakti. And that platform is only achieved if we actually meet a Ragatmika Bhakti, and they can train us in the process of pure devotional service. And then we come to the point of, it's called Raganuga Bhakti. Anuga means to follow. Raga means attachment. So Raganuga Bhakti means we follow the Raga Bhakti, and we develop the mood of devotional service. So, our Raga Bhakti is Lord Chaitanya, and also Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada just said, do as I do. We don't have to look for a Raga Bhakti. We may hear that philosophy sometimes, that Prabhupada didn't give us everything, but he gave us everything perfectly according to our situation. And all we have to do is follow. And so if we're not able to, spontaneously serve Krishna, there's some spontaneity there, otherwise, there'd be no taste. But it says then we should follow this process which Prabhupada gave us, chanting 16 rounds, following 4 regular principles, taking only prasadam, associating with devotees, like that, making our home into a temple, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Because these are actually angas of bhakti. And this is devotional service in practice, or what it's called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. So Vaidhi means rules and regulations. We practice the rules and regulations which Prabhupada gave us, and this raises to the platform of purifying the heart. This is called Bhajana Kriya. First is association Shraddha, and then there's association of devotees, Sadhu Sangha. Then by that association we perform devotional service, and an arta nivriti takes place within the heart. And by constantly following that process, eventually the heart becomes almost completely cleansed, and we come to the level of Nishta. So at Nishta, there's very little to hold us back. There is some residual attachment in the heart. But, for all intents and purposes, we are actually coming to the level of spontaneity. It starts at Nishta, the spontaneous, real spontaneity. And I remember one devotee actually telling me, he said, we're a Prabhupada disciple. He said, I feel as if I'm chanting now. He said, I used to chant with my head. You know, in other words, it used to be, you know, we pronounce all the words, focus, you can see devotees with their eyes knitted tight, you know, and they're really trying. He says, but he said, one day it just actually went down from my head to my heart. He said, I started chanting from the heart. In other words, it wasn't so mechanical anymore. And so this is what we need. We need to come to the point where we chant something with some feeling. And this is a very healthy indication when we do that. We're not trying to conquer the holy name. You know, we set off and we're going to get this holy name down if it's the last thing we do. Not me anyway. But after some time, we realise we can't do it, you know. We have to accept that. It's surrendering to the chanting. You know what I mean? Relying on Krishna to help us to chant. And this is what actually is needed in devotional service, that we start to forget that we're the doer. We start to remember that Krishna's the doer. Krishna's the seer, right? Or are we the seer? What do you think? Who's the seer?
I'll say Krishna.
Krishna, yeah. But in material life, we think we're the seer. You know, we're seeing everything revolving around us. And therefore, this, you know, and everything has to jump, well, not jump, but, you know, everything has to act according to our desire. But when we realize that we're, you know, we're not very significant, you know, we're not a seer, we're a tiny seer. And that, you know, Krishna's the actual seer, he's seeing everything and he's orchestrating everything. And so this is what the gradual process of devotional service. And, you know, at this stage, we come to this Nishta stage, actually. Not so much, it is service in the beginning. It's explained in Bhagavatam, Shrush Shradadhanasya Vasudeva Taruchi. That service purifies the heart, so the inclination to hear, there's a taste for hearing. And then when we hear regularly, Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu, then the heart becomes cleansed. Almost. That's Nishta we're talking about. And then Tadara Jatama Bhava, Kama Lobhayascha, Jete, Ete and Avidim, Stita Sattva Prasidati. Kama and Lobha, which are the lords of nature, the hankering and lamenting, they start to disappear from the heart. And Tadara Jatama Bhava, Kama Lobha. Stita Sattva Prasidati. Then we become stita, means situated in goodness. And so this verse is talking about all the activities which are inclined towards the mode of goodness. So we may be hearing Bhagavatam, you know, in different modes of nature and getting different ideas and different. So, but by hearing and the association of devotees, our perception of what Bhagavatam is actually speaking about, it is changed. When we're fully situated in the mode of goodness, then Evam Prasanna Manaso, the mind becomes enlivened. We're no longer carried away by the modes of nature which come and go in the mind, but we're actually in the mode of goodness, and we actually can understand what devotional service actually is. And it's so simple, you know, that Prabhupada said we can miss it. It's that there's three things. There's ourselves, there's devotional service, and there's Krishna. And that's our devotee can see from that point. He doesn't see, you know, so many modes of nature he recognized the modes of nature, but they don't affect so much. And then Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata, by devotional service to Krishna. Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata, Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. So then one becomes realized, one's knowledge by performing in the devotional service in the mode of goodness, then we get realization. Mukta Sangasya Jayate, then liberation. And then when the mind's liberated from the modes or from the effects of the modes, then we perform this, it's actually you, Krishna, and the service, the spontaneous devotional service. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that while we're in the process of performing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, we're actually not liberated. While when we come to Raganuga Bhakti, then it's liberation. So Prabhupada seems to contradict that sometimes. He's talking about pure devotees, so that's a really pure devotee. But he also talks about pure devotional service following the instructions of the spiritual master. So if we can do that completely, and we may be internally not so pure, but if we're considered to be pure devotees, we're on the platform of pure devotional service. And it says, Apichet Sracharo, these impurities in the heart may actually come up sometimes, and in a big way, maybe. But Krishna says that's to be expected to some degree. We don't decry a devotee for that. We expect that there'll be some hiccups as we gradually getting rid of our lower nature. I'll tell you about, I give a story, I might have mentioned this story before. It's about Charlie Chaplin. Have I spoken about Charlie Chaplin before? Can anybody remember?
I don't think so, Maharaj.
Okay, we'll talk about Charlie Chaplin.
All right.
I was in Baku, that's a place in the Middle East. It's Azerbaijan. And I was waiting to fly. And, it's out of the way place, so the flights are awkward times. It was like early hours of the morning. And in the departure lounge, they had some big screens. They were putting videos on. And I looked up and I saw there were a video of Charlie Chaplin. And I thought to myself, don't start watching this. It's not really your consciousness any good. Maybe you should read Bhagavad Gita instead. So I got the Bhagavad Gita, so I'm looking at the Bhagavad Gita. I keep looking up at this film, And it got the better of me. I closed the Bhagavad Gita and I started watching Charlie Chaplin. And I thought, actually, I remember Prabhupada used to watch Charlie Chaplin, so I'm okay. Disciplic succession. He used to tell stories about about Charlie. And I thought, anyway, Prabhupada got some realization from it, so I probably will as well, So my conscience was clear. And I was watching this, it's surprising how these old movies where they don't talk, they actually speak to you, you can see, and it was actually a down and out, it was on the street. And it was New Year's Eve. Either New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve, one of them, they're all blowing these, these party things. And we were walking past this Baghdad bar, and this drunk came rolling out and knocked him over. And so they were both laid in the gutter there, and they both got up, and this drunk started profusely apologising to Charlie Chaplin. And this drunk, he was dressed in a top hat and tuxedo, it was really, he was a tough. And And he said, he indicated, come on the town with me. And Charlie Chaplin pulled his pockets out. He said, I've got no money. And so it's all on me, he said. And so they went on the town, and they went on various escapades in these different bars, restaurants. And by the end of the night, they were both blotto. They both, nearly stoned off their feet. And so he drove them back. I don't know how they got back, but they got back to his place, and it was a mansion. And so the doors, the automatic, the doors opened, and they drove in. And so he took rest that night, and he woke up and they were in a four-poster bed, and he forgot where he was. And then he started to recollect. And he thought, this person is really rich. I wonder if he'd let me use his car. And so the butler came in, and he asked him. And so, the butler went to the master of the house who he'd met the night before, and he were like still out, and he just got and said, "Oh, let him have it, no problem." So Charlie Chaplin, he gets in this car. It's actually a Rolls Royce, and he sits in this Rolls Royce. And by this time, he's got all the, this master of the house. He bought him all the top gear so he could go out. So he's in this tuxedo with, top hat and tails and everything. And he's driving down the street, and everybody's looking. I said, "Wow, look at that, real gentleman, And he's like enjoying this, Now he's become a gentleman, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden, he drives a little bit further, and he sees this bum on the street, and he's looking for cigarette ends to smoke, and just a bit further on, he sees this guy walking with a cigarette, and it's half smoked, and he throws it down, and Charlie Chaplin, he pulls the handbrake on, stops the car, jumps out of the car, starts running to this cigarette, and this bummer we saw earlier just reached a cigarette just before him, and so he kicked him out of the way. He picked up this cigarette and started smoking it. And this guy's, this bummer who's in the street is looking, he's thinking, what's going on? He's got a Rolls Royce. Why does he need to actually, deprive me of having a cigarette, And so I realised that this is what it's like in devotional service sometimes, we've got all the gear, the tea like, immaculate tea like, and, neck beads, three, I've only got two actually, mine broke, but 3 strings. And, I've got all the paraphernalia, but sometimes you do the most, stupid things, which, anyway. So we should be prepared for that. That's the point. We shouldn't be, we shouldn't feel, we've got to be kind to ourselves. If you're not kind to yourself, then, you'll not be kind to others. You've got to give yourself a break sometimes that, you're doing your best and sometimes you may come unstuck, but what you do, there was a song by, I'll not say the name of the, go on, I'll say it. Nat King Cole. He says, you've got to pick yourself up, brush yourself down, take a deep breath and start all over again. Does anybody remember that? No, probably not. Anyway, it's not good if you do, but when I heard that song, I thought, wow, that's actually really good for devotional service, because sometimes we beat ourselves up, don't we? And how does it make us feel? We don't feel like carrying on. I'm waffling a bit here, but we're talking about this particular verse. And I've got a few notes here which I made for another one, but they're suitable actually. Let's have a look. Yeah, there's one verse here. Aradito yadi hari tapasya tatakim. Na radito yadi hari tapasya tatakim. Aradito means one's worship, arada. Yadi hari, worship of Hari. By tapasya tatakim. So it's saying that if one's worship does not bring one to the point of Hari tapasya tata, the worship of Lord Hari, then it's a waste of time. And it says, if Naradi he Tapasya Kim, if we're already a devotee, Naradi, what's the point of actually austerities, tapasya? So all our tapasya should be performed in a mood of service to Krishna. That's the top and bottom of it. Whatever we do, Prabhupada once said that, you know, somebody who's actually an alcoholic, if he actually realize, if he connects it with Krishna, that this is actually Krishna's energy, he can become purified. I don't advocate you should do that, of course, but, you know, it's just that so the whole point is, you know, the whole point is that if we connect it with Krishna, it can actually raise us to the next platform. And, you know, in devotional service, we can be actually doing everything correctly, at least externally, and not connecting it with Krishna. This is the point. And then it becomes, what's that verse from Nectar of Instruction? Forget the verse now. It becomes performing it for the sake of performing devotional service. In other words, we're not really performing. It becomes an automatic or a mechanical service. So at some point we have to switch over from mechanical to, you know, thoughtful. And I'm finding this actually, you know, in older age that you're not so attracted to getting things done anymore, you know, because it's not so easy. You're more attracted to actually internalizing things. So this is Krishna's great mercy, you know, all the other faculties have started to diminish and the strength's diminishing, but the power of, you know, observing and understanding is actually is the only way you can go. You have to use the mind more and the intelligence more. So we can see how even Krishna, in arranging this birth, death, old age and disease, although it seems an unfavorable thing, it's actually, if we understand its proper function, we can use that also for self-realization. So that, you know, there's no shortage of engaging in Krishna's service. Of course, we can have all the facility and still misuse it. And this is the story of Devahuti. Devahuti, she was the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. And so she was qualified. Swayambhuva Manu is actually an exalted personality. He arranges for the laws of the universe. So therefore, you know, you'd expect his offspring. He was also a Prajapati, so his offspring would be also pious. And she was a mystic yogi, she was so elevated. And so we'd think, well, if it becomes a platform of mystic yoga, you know, we're perfect. But, you know, being a woman, she decided to get married and have children. So Swayambhuva Manu, being a devotee, he realized that I should marry her to an exalted devotee, not an externally exalted king. And so she arranged, Swayambhuva Manu met Kardama Muni, who was an advanced devotee, but he lived very ascetic life. And so he married his daughter to Kardama Muni. And so after some time, she was serving him very nicely. And he recognized her austerities, Kardama Muni, and he asked, what can I do for you? She said, you know, married life is meant for offspring. So I need, you know, give me a child. And so being a yogi himself, Kardama Muni arranged for an opulent aerial mansion which would travel through the universe. And they went to all the, you know, the beautiful places which are sought after by the demigods and enjoyed sexual life there. And, they had, and this for I think it was 100 celestial years. So, and when they actually came back, she was pregnant. She had a child in the womb. This was Kapila Muni. And so at that time, Kadama Muni wanted to take sannyas, like he promised. Or Swambhu Manu said, as soon as she has a child, then you can fulfill your desire of leaving that situation, taking sannyas. So, and then it dawned on Devahuti that although she'd got a devotee as a husband, although she was so elevated, that her consciousness was not correct. She'd actually done all that, and she said, "I'd try to enjoy the association of an elevated soul that was in her husband, Kadama Muni," and she was lamenting. And so all that piety she performed didn't go in vain, because it had put her in a position where she could take shelter of an elevated husband who gave her a child who would be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Shakti Vesh Avatar, Kapila Muni. I think it was Shakti Vesh Avatar, yeah. And so he says, Kapila Muni, your son will direct you in spiritual life. He will preach you so that you can perfect your life. Because she asks for fearlessness. And fearlessness means being engaged in devotional service. That's the only real fearlessness. And so, the point is, whatever our situation, until we come to the point of pure selfless devotional service, there's always a chance of being, attracted by the material energy and seeing things for our own sense gratification, instead of seeing things for Krishna's sense gratification, Krishna's pleasure. I wanted to say one more thing, actually. Even there's one verse in the 10th chapter of Bhagavatam, chapter 12, verse 11. Itam satam Brahma sukhana bhucha dasham gatanam paradaivatena mayashitanam paradarakena sakam vijaru kita punya punja. So it says that, Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, says some people worship the impersonal Brahman and they think that's perfect. Others become devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Where materialistic people, they only see the material enjoyment as being supreme. He said, but there are a few rare souls, Sakha, the friends of Krishna, Sakha Vijaru Krita Punya Punja, due to performing many pious activities in the past. They are now playing with Krishna as cowherd boys in the spiritual world. So that's the real good fortune, that Krita Punya Punja, we said at the beginning that there's the beginning of the class, there's pious material activities and pious spiritual activities. So we can change those pious material activities when we connect them with Krishna, whatever we're doing. And then Sakam Vrijaru Krita Punja Punja. We can eventually come to the point of associating with Krishna, just like the cowherd boys. He says, these people, these previous three categories, they don't know that. So this is our great good fortune that, we've got a raga atmika in the shape of, in the form of Srila Prabhupada. And due to his instructions, we've surpassed all the other lower platforms of pious activities and come to the real pious activities of rendering devotional service to Krishna. And now our work is to make them real pious activities by the mind. It's the mind which makes them pious activities. Okay. So I think we can stop there. We're a little bit early. And if there's anything else.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Maharaj.
That's okay.
Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, reflections, comments, you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. Maharaj, you see, well, thank you so much for giving us your blessings, giving us your association and love and wisdom. Thank you so much. We appreciate it so much, Maharaj. We see in material education, like attending a secular education, there are different stages, like maybe from nursery all the way to 12th grade. Then you graduate as a high school student. Sometimes a student skips a class, maybe from 3rd grade, instead of going to 4th grade, he gets skipped the 4th grade and gets to 5th grade. So I'm asking this question, like the different stages to Krishna Prema, from Shraddha to Prema. Is it always the case that from Shraddha you go to the next stage, you go to the next stage till you get to Prema? Or from Shraddha, it may be possible for one to go to Prema? Is that possible? Oh, Maharaj, you're muted. Sorry.
Is that possible? I mean, you know, everything is possible by Krishna's mercy. The whole point is to please Krishna. And so, you know, if we please Krishna, then we can overcome all obstacles. And that's why the conclusion of Srimad Bhagavatam is to always remember Krishna. And if we're always remembering Krishna, he's always in our heart. And if we, you know, we're always in his heart. There's one verse in the 9th chapter, 9th canto, that I'm always, the devotee is in the heart of Krishna, and I'm always in the heart of the devotee. So that's the thing. The only thing that's stopping us is all this baggage that we've created due to material association, misconceptions. And so generally, you know, Prabhupada described it by the slow process of devotional service. It's not possible to get just get rid of it all, because we're actually so conditioned to live in that way and depending on these things for our taste in life. And so generally the taste has to be gradually given up, and a higher taste of devotional service takes its place, you know. Or it's the other way around, actually. By the higher taste of devotional service, then the lower taste is actually not tasteful anymore. It's like Prabhupada does say, you know, an honorary degree. He says, but even with an honorary degree, you know, we may get a degree without doing the course, but usually we've done something substantial in that field of activities to get that degree, you know what I mean? in mathematics or sociology, whatever degree, we're usually working in that field. So we may not have gone through the course. We may actually have somehow or other come to the point of rag atmicobacter. I don't know. But we're and but Prabhupada said we shouldn't depend on that. It's a matter of pleasing Krishna. I mean, it reminds me of George Harrison in one respect. I don't know what he'd done before. Prabhupada said they were all demigods from the moon, all the Beatles, in the previous life. But, you know, he definitely got Prabhupada's mercy, although he was actually, his lifestyle was far from, you know, suitable for taking up devotional service. But Prabhupada said he assessed his character, and he said he's a very nice boy. Prabhupada used to call him a boy, you know. Everybody else was worshipping him. He's a very nice boy. I like him. I've studied him. And he said, shall I join the temple, Prabhupada? He said, no. He said, just do what you're doing, but do it for Krishna. And he told him how to do it, how to write songs, in what mood to write them in. And if you analyze his songs, they're very deep, actually. And somehow or other, he was still attracted to material life. But gradually towards the end of his life, you know, he gave up all that attachment completely. And he had a very auspicious end, you know. So we're all mercy cases in one respect, is that we, on our own, we can't go through this process without Krishna's constant mercy. We're making an effort, and then I think everybody will realize that we make such an effort, and then we're just about to give in, or we do give in, and then we get some, you know, it works. So, and then we realize that it's not up to me, I just have to try. So in one respect, your question is a good question, that it's all Krishna's mercy, it's all Kripa. It's just that, you know, some may get it seemingly faster than others. But Krishna's not going to, you know, give somebody pure devotional service unless they actually want it. And the only way we can want it is if actually we've got some realization, and that generally it's coming through the practice of devotional service. How else are we going to get Krishna's mercy unless there's some connection there? Different degrees of kripa, but it's earned usually.
Well, thank you so much, Maharaj, for the answer. Because I was wondering, let me see if I may put this on the screen. In a systematic or chronological order, it says, starting from Shraddha, then we have Sadhu Sangha, all the way to Bhava Prema. And so I was wondering, how is it possible that someone with Shraddha, without Sadhu Sangha, attains to Bhava Prema? But it seems from your explanation, it may not be the usual way of getting to Bhava Prema, but it is possible sometimes, like Maharaj is saying. So, in effect, you're saying, I think you said Srila Prabhupada also said that it's possible, but we should not count on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we have to go through the process.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, Maharaj. I have this question. It's not directly related to the theme we're discussing today, but it somewhat relates. I've been asking this question, and maybe devotees who have heard me ask this question, I may sound repetitive, but I've been wondering what it means when the scriptures say that those who are pure devotees of the Lord, the generations after them, generations before them, they all get liberated. And I've been wondering how is that seen? Does that mean that the descendants of that particular pure devotee, they all externally become like top-class Vaishnavas per our judgment? And I was just using Srila Prabhupada, our Jagat Guru, for example, that obviously his generations before him and after him are all liberated. And if we look immediately, the immediate children he had, I'm not sure whether any, but at least we know that quite a number of his children were or are not devotees as we are trying to be devotees, those of us who were not born into a Vaishnav family. But these people, these children, per Krishna's promise, they are liberated, no matter what they do. So if no matter what they do, they are liberated, then how do we ascertain when we go out to preach, we think somebody is not living this life or that life, which is spiritual life, non-spiritual life? How do we tell whether this person we even trying to preach to is already liberated? We are struggling to have liberation. So this is the bewilderment that I have. If the person or the generation before and after of such a pure devotee means that they all become Vaishnavas, then we are not seeing that. And if it does not matter what they become or what they do, then how do we shape our mindset when we go out there to preach? Because when we preach and we think this person is a kami, he needs Krishna's knowledge in order to become a devotee. That is why I asked the first question, because sometimes some souls do not have to go through the system. So, Maharaj, I don't know if you get my long, winding question and if you may offer some help. Hare Krishna.
Well, what I understand you to be saying is that if there's a pure devotee and all his family, or so many generations of his family members, past and future, are liberated. So, more or less, how does it work? Because, we may see him doing so many things which are wrong, while the devotee is present. So, at the end of life, if they're doing the wrong things, how do they go back to Godhead? I can't answer, perfectly. But I think there's a consideration that when it says liberated, we have to find out what kind of liberation that's being spoken about. Real liberation means vimukti, or devotional service. So, Krishna also says that he fulfills the desires of the living entities. So, they may get liberated. I mean, one perspective is they could be liberated from the material, aspect of life, either impersonal Brahman or even impersonal Brahman, or attain a higher quality of life, because Krishna doesn't interfere. So I don't know. I mean, I've heard that they get liberated, but I'm not sure what that liberation is.
Mm.
If it's vimukti, then, you know, Krishna, he seems to be contradicting that he's interfering with their independence, and he said he doesn't do that. So I can't see it being that they'll go back to Goloka Vrindavan. They may get some liberations, you know, which is spoken about, different levels of liberation, and gives them a chance to actually, you know, take up a higher quality of life and eventually come to devotional service. Or, you know, like that. They've got a renewed opportunity to actually go the right way instead of being degraded. This is just my thoughts, and it's not absolute at all, but that's the only way I can think of it on the understanding of Shastra. It's not necessarily right, but that's something to think about. And another thing is, you know, when we see that somebody gets special mercy, like when Maharaj Yudhisthira in the assembly house, when all the elevated people of the universe were there, and kings and so many other, if Krishna, Maharaj Yudhisthira performed the Ashwamedha sacrifice, or was it Rajasura sacrifice? And when they made the offerings, when he said, who should the first offering go to? And Lord Krishna was there. He did it all to actually establish Krishna's position. He was preaching. And so Sahadev said, and started glorifying Krishna's position, said he should get the first offering. And in the assembly was Shishupal, and he was burning with envy. And he let loose at Lord Krishna. Where is this? Is that? Is the other? You know, I can't even. And so, you know, eventually he overstepped the mark, and Krishna, you know, killed him. And at that point, you know, the soul came out of Shishupal's body, a big effulgence, and it merged into Krishna's body. And Maharaj Yudhisthira was astounded. He said, how can a rascal like that get liberation? And so Narada Muni started to tell him about, you know, the story of Jaya and Vijay coming to the material world and eventually taking birth as Shishupal. He wasn't an ordinary living entity. So from that, we can understand that it was a special situation. It wasn't that he was actually an out-and-out rascal, and he got that liberation. He actually got more than that liberation and merged into Krishna's body. He went back to Vaikuntha. Or actually, they took birth as Jaya and Vijay. They had a guest appearance, and then they went back to. So, you know, it's same in Krishna's pastimes, all these demons, and they're not necessarily demons, you know. They're actually Krishna's associates. So we have to remember that we're in the material world because we want to be here, and Krishna's not going to interfere with that. So my take is that, you know, they do get a kind of liberation from the hellish condition of life they're in, and an opportunity to, you know, and direction to go the right way again.
Well, Hare Krishna, thank you, Maharaj. But okay, Madhava Prabhu, thank you for your hand up. We'll get to you very soon. I'm sorry, I promise. Okay. Maharaj, I have this counter opinion. It's just my opinion. It's not something I've heard from any advanced devotee or read from the scriptures. But I understand that there is this thing called Kripa Siddhi, where the spiritual master, out of his immense mercy, showers his mercy upon an individual who is blind, and now he's able to see stars in the sky. He did not have the merits to be able to see the stars because he was blind, but just by the mercy of the Guru, He is now able to see. So, and then that is one. So if the spiritual master can do that, then I believe Krishna equally can also do that. And again, like you said, and you referenced your Prabhupada earlier on, that this, if even it's there, is very rare. It's seldom that Krishna does that. But I am also thinking that if truly we all came from the spiritual world, if we all came from the spiritual world, then it's just a matter of if Krishna becomes merciful on one particular soul. Krishna says, all right, I take you back from the material world back to your original position, the spiritual world. And once the soul gets to the spiritual world, he needs not to learn how to serve the Lord. The soul already knows how to serve the Lord. Just like here in the US, almost every term, you see the president give amnesty to some prisoners. So if an ordinary human being, being the president of a country, can be so compassionate to give freedom to those who have been lawfully arrested, then what to speak of the Lord? This is my human, logical approach to how Krishna says that generations in the future, generations in the past of his pure devotees get liberated. He just gives them amnesty. This is what I'm thinking. So what do you think of my assumption or opinion, Maharaj?
I don't disagree. Because, Vasudeva Dat,
Yeah.
said, let me take all the sins of all the universe. They can all go back together. So Lord Chaitanya said, all right.
Yeah.
So, it's like maybe interferes with some, but the thing is, if they have free will, these will be, when they go back to the spiritual world, they'll be in a different category. They didn't really want to be there. They are there, you know what I mean? There may be a special part of the spiritual world where they can, keep going, giving them a bit of association every so often. So,
Well, thank you, Maharaj. We have Madhavan Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Maharaj, all great from your local school. Thank you very much for giving us your time. I so much appreciate. About the deliberation that we had, I want to believe that effective devotional service, maybe the forefathers, they are in hell. So if they are in hell, the devotional service of the devotee can liberate the forefathers who are in hell.
Well, I couldn't. Who liberate the devotees who are in hell? Yeah, is that what you
The
said?
forefathers of a devotee, because of devotional service of somebody, is it possible to liberate the forefathers that are already in hell?
Okay, Maharaj's question is, like in the scriptures, we hear of rituals like Pinda, where sons perform some rituals to help liberate or atone for the sins of their forefathers. So Madhavan Prabhu's question is it possible that a devotee who is presently here on earth performing devotional service, but his forefathers and ancestors are already suffering in hell, can such a devotee's devotional service help liberate these souls in hell to be released from hell simply because of the devotional service of their maybe great grandchild? Is that possible? That is his question.
Definitely. If we can perform Pinda, and we're not really, actually the Pinda is, we used to do it at our temple, is that, they come with, somebody's deceased in the family, they come with a picture, we cook prasadam, and they pay for the prasadam, and we offer the prasadam to the deceased as well to liberate them. So yeah, if by the tradition, the traditional way, we can actually liberate them. There's a process, Karma Kanda maybe as well. We can definitely do it by devotional service. We can, a devotee, that's what it says, generations are liberated. So some of them may be actually in that situation.
Well,
Thank you very much.
Madhava Prabhu, thank you. I mean, Maharaj, your explanation should help us appreciate Krishna more and more and try to serve him, because it's just so merciful, so kind, that simply because of one person's service to him, he liberates generations before him and after him. It's amazing. But with this same understanding, it's also led to some devotees think that the opposite could be possible, that I commit sin, very, very horrible sin. And because of my horrible sin, my generations will have to suffer simply because I committed nonsense. And personally, I argued against that Krishna is all good. Because it's all good, that is why he's showing this mercy to generations before and after. But Krishna is not going to punish an innocent soul simply because of his generational generational members, family members who committed something nonsense. So how do you help us navigate this approach, that if Krishna can bless a devotee's generations before and after, why wouldn't he be possible to also chastise or curse generations before and after of someone who was very inimical towards Krishna?
Well, there's a story of Lord Nityananda. There's a, what's his name?
Jagai Madai.
No, the devotee of Lord Ramachandra. Anyway, it was the one with the whip.
Oh, Abhiram.
Yeah. So he visited Advaita Acharya's brother's temple, or where they were worshipping the Lord, and there was a priest there who had no faith in Lord Nityananda. And when Abhiram Thakur came there, he showed disrespect to him. And Abhiram Thakur could understand his mentality. And so he was really disappointed and he left that place. And, you know, it says that the whole village suffered as a result of that offence to Lord DAYANANDA. So, you know, if the law of karma is there as well, you know, that the law of karma is so intricate that how does, you know, people from different parts of the world come together, get on the same plane and a kill or something like that, you know? So if this can happen, but if the law of karma is working, we can also see that the Lord doesn't necessarily punish somebody. It's not his nature. So those who suffered, you know, they had the proper qualification for being in that situation. So we shouldn't think that Krishna, you know, is always actually giving everybody more than a chance.
Hmm.
I mean, at some point, if we'd become what they call incorrigible, we can't be changed, then we have to actually get some real purification, and that means probably some real suffering. But there's never a time when somebody is completely lost. There's always a chance. So I shouldn't be too fearful about that. We should be fearful about, you know, committing offences because it'll affect us. And there may be some, you know, there may be some effect on those connected with us, but it's extremely unlikely. You know, you know, this pastime saying, don't offend a pure devotee or offend the Lord, because it's actually it's dangerous. There's always, you know, Krishna always gives extreme examples, and Lord Chaitanya gives extreme examples. And when we become a devotee, we become responsible for our activities in that we affect the lives of so many people. You know, we have to set the example so that, you know, everybody who actually meets us, they get some benefit, and not set a bad example, which has a bad effect on people's attitude towards devotional service.
Hmm.
So, you know, we just have to be a good devotee. And if we're a good devotee, we actually benefit the family. That's explained. It's not explained that we don't benefit the family.
Hmm.
So I don't think we need to worry about that.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Maharaj. Anyone else with something to ask or to share? We have one pleasant announcement to make, and it's so blissful that Maharaj is here with us. Maharaj, we have one of our family members here who just, by the mercies of Guru Krishna and the devotees, she just had a baby.
Oh,
She gave birth to a baby girl. They just got discharged from the hospital.
ah,
She is here. This is Rasalila, and she is the beloved daughter of our godbrother, His Grace Govinda Prabhu. Govinda Prabhu is our modern day Garuda. He's always driving. Yes. So Govinda Prabhu is a grand father. And Maharaj, I'm kind of cracking jokes, but I'm a little serious here. We wish that we ourselves become serious devotees, and even much deeper and higher than we becoming devotees is that we wish and hope that our children become more serious devotees than ourselves. So, Maharaj, you're here, we're seeking your blessings, that you bless the mother, the child, and the family, that they become Srila Prabhupada's instrument. So this is our humble request to you, Maharaj, and of course, dear assembled Vaishnava devotees, that you all bless Rasalila and the child to become.
Well, if I've got any,
Rasalila, if it's possible, you may turn on your camera so Maharaj may see you and give you his blessings. Hare Krishna. I'm not sure if she's in the position to turn on her camera, but
okay, no problem.
all right. So Maharaj, please.
Yeah, if I'm actually qualified to give any blessings, then definitely she can have all my blessings, and for the child and the family, everybody.
Jai. Hare Krishna. All right.
Very fortunate
Yeah.
Krishna conscious situation.
Yes.
And it's not easy when we have to drive trucks every day. It's not, you know what I mean? We have to work in the material world.
Yes.
It's like a big test of our Krishna consciousness to maintain it. So it's an example for everybody. If we can have a Krishna conscious family, even though we're actually closely associated with the material world.
Yeah.
And thank you for your example.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. I'm sorry, the baby's being fed.
Yeah, you probably got
I
your
couldn't
answer,
hear.
Okay, it's okay.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Well, anyone else with something to ask before we call it a day today? Let me see. Govinda Prabhu, Harichakra Prabhu, this, our God brother, I want to ask Maharaj a question, but I can't get the name of the devotee, but we have a God brother named after him. Nana at Kumasi. What's his name? What's his initiation name?
Kamara?
Yeah, Kamala Kanta.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Maharaj, I am thinking that there are some pastimes the Lord enacts that are not meant for us, the conditioned souls, to study and learn anything from it for our own betterment, in the sense that, one, this Kamala Kanta was a personal servant to Advaita Acharya, and he understood that Advaita is the supreme personality of Godhead. But Advaita Acharya had borrowed money from someone, and this Kamala Kanta wanted to pay off this debt. And so he also went and then borrowed money from another person to pay off Advaita Acharya's debt. And when Lord Chaitanya heard this, Lord Chaitanya scolded him so badly. How dare you consider the Supreme Lord as poor? See, so Lord Chaitanya chastised him very seriously. And personally, I do not see where Kamala Kanta erred in trying to offset the debt of his Lord and Master. Secondly, when I think that was Rupa Goswami having a meditation, and his meditation cut short because this hunchback felt that Rupa Goswami was laughing at him. And Sanatana Goswami explained to him that it's because of his laughter, his meditation on Radha Krishna. God, well, all I'm trying to say is that, is it a fact that some pastimes of the Lord are not meant for the living entities to learn anything from, and is that it's just the pastimes of the Lord? Because we cannot, well, Maharaj.
So I can vaguely remember the pastime that I can't remember it in detail, so I can't really answer it unless I read it and try to understand it, you know, from the purport. Yeah, I mean, in one respect, we can see that the devotee doesn't have to worry, you know, if he's... It's a matter of etiquette, isn't it? It's a matter of etiquette. That's if we... It's not right for a young devotee to be seen, you know, getting a older devotee out of trouble. It should be done in a more subtle way. He could have actually given it to one of his peers, you know, and say, go and give that to, you know, Advaita Acharya. It would have been much more acceptable to do that. You know, and our whole philosophy is that, you know, there's like a hierarchy system, and we, even though a Brahmin may chastise you, you're right in actually saying something back, but you don't. It's up to his peers to actually correct him. So it's a similar sort of situation, isn't it? It's not up to somebody to, you know, you know, be seen to get out Advaita Acharya out of a difficulty. It should be done in a more subtle way, and that's acceptable then. It's like in class when somebody asks a question, you know, be careful to ask it in such a way that we don't offend the speaker. And even if the speaker may give an answer which is not 100%, you know, be careful to just, you know, try and give our opinion in such a way that we don't, you know, make the speaker look, you know, bring down the offend the speaker, or, you know, make him look, you know, I think you understand my point. Make a...
Yes, Maharaj.
That's the whole situation. I remember I was in one class when I just joined the temple a few months earlier, and one Prabhupada disciple asking another one a question. And when he answered it from the Avyasas, and he said, "Is that okay?" And he went like this. You know, he didn't say it was okay, or he didn't say it was right. So it's like that, you know, we actually, John the Vyasa-san, don't disrespect that situation. And you know, I can remember it to this day that it really affected me. I thought, this is the way to actually deal. It's not important that you get it, you know, you actually belittle the speaker just for the sake of being right. So I'm just superimposing a mood, or speaking about a mood in devotional service, which is actually the proper etiquette. We are trying to uphold the dignity of a Vaishnava, not just knock him off his pedestal, you know, unnecessarily. Because we all get things wrong, you know. We're not perfect, And therefore, it's not that when we sit on the Vyasasana we become perfect necessarily, but at least we're giving what we understand. And sometimes, I know Samuel Krishna Maharaj came to Manchester once. And after the class, there was this devotee from a congregation. He asked him a question, and Samuel Krishna Maharaj said to him, "You were just waiting for me to give you an answer so you can fill in all the gaps, aren't you?" And sometimes it's like that. Somebody asks the question, they know the answer. And they're waiting for it, so that they can actually make themselves look good by filling in what we missed out. So that's not proper etiquette, Yeah, so that's the way I see it, that he'd no need to embarrass Advaita Acharya like that.
Well, thank you, Maharaj. But to me, well, it's very nice. You shared what you just shared, because when I read that pastime, I felt there was nothing wrong in Kamalakanta's actions, and I was with the assumption that, from what Lord Chaitanya was saying, that he is the Supreme Lord. How do you consider him Daridra? Now, some people say Daridra Narayan, poor Narayan. So Lord Chaitanya was trying to chastise him in that sense. But I was also saying that probably Kamalakanta was not thinking or believing that Advaita Acharya is poor. But if he's gone to the extent of borrowing money, then he could also borrow money from somewhere to pay off the debt to settle his master. And sometimes some devotees are with the opinion that, oh, he's a guru. He's not an ordinary human being. So he does not need this, he does not need that. It's, excuse me to say, to me, it's a very shallow mindset. But some devotees hold on to this opinion that, oh, he's a pure devotee, he's guru, he's the spiritual master. And therefore, don't worry too much. The Lord will take care of him. He will take care of himself, which to me is wrong. But, well, that's why I'm thinking that sometimes I believe that some of the Lord's pastimes are just their pastimes that we may learn little or nothing from it and use it for our devotional service. Again, I'm sorry I'm speaking too much, but I'm thinking that if somebody feeling that somebody is laughing at me and therefore his spiritual meditation gets cut short, then where do we stand? Because so many people may think so many unkind way towards us as trying to be devotees. Does that mean that because they're not happy with us, we're going to lose our connection with Krishna? I don't know, and I don't think so, actually.
No, we can't. He can please some people some of the time. I can please all of the people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time.
Yeah.
He can please all of the people some of the time. So it's like that, in devotional service, it's not different. There's different characters, and we don't always, have so much appreciation of certain characters within devotional service. But we appreciate that they're performing devotional service for Krishna, so we accept it. If they're pleasing Krishna by that, that's okay. But I'm not. It doesn't really actually excite me, sort of thing, and it will be like that. But at the same time, we're actually appreciative that they're serving Krishna. So that's the situation, yeah. that when we go back to spiritual, it's not utopia.
Yeah.
It's like, there's different characters there. I think I mentioned this last time, actually, that, everybody's got a personality, and, even there's a right wing and left wing gopis just to give more flavor to the pastime.
Yes.
You know what I mean? In fact, if you know Dakota, he said, I won't be seen dead in Chandravali's camp. So, that's quite a heavy statement, isn't it? But they're serving Krishna, it's okay. And it pleases Krishna that there's some, variety in service.
Yeah.
He's a person.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It's a good job he is, otherwise we've been in a difficult situation,
For sure, yeah. Well,
Hare Krishna.
oh, Hare Krishna Govinda Prabhu, yes, please.
Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances. All glories to you, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to the Assembly devotees. And Maharaj, first of all, thank you very much for giving us your blessings. We really appreciate you and your words of encouragement. And thank you very, very much. From these narrations going on, especially offending devotees, you said something there which was very deep, and I took it very seriously, that we should be very, very careful in our dealings with devotees, because offenses to devotees are very dangerous. And so that's the exact word you use, that it's very dangerous. So how do we relate when you see devotees? The scripture talks about devotional service is performed with devotees as Vaishnava Sangha. And so devotees, going close to devotees, help us to progress in our devotional service. But if you are not careful, that it also causes, it can also impede our progress to devotional service. So going close to devotees is very beneficial, but at the same time, it can also be very dangerous to our spiritual life. How do we relate to ourselves when we meet? Because we don't know who is who. Most of the time, we're looking at devotees from the external point of view. You are my friend, you are my this, you are my that, like Arjuna and Krishna. He was dealing with Krishna like his friend, not knowing that Krishna is the supreme personality of God. So after Krishna revealed himself to Arjuna, Arjuna was feeling so bad, and he started begging Krishna. So same way, we are dealing with each other, but we don't know each person's background. I mean, his spiritual life from his previous life, and so we are dealing with each other like friends, and so we're committing a lot of offenses to each other without knowing. What should be our mindset when we come together as devotees, so that we don't commit such Vaishnava apparas?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have the suffix Prabhu added to our names, so that, or Das, when we call ourselves Das, but other devotees call us Prabhu. So that's the formula that we don't try to differentiate between any devotees, that we see everybody as a servant of Krishna, and that, we try to help them to serve Krishna. That's how Prabhupada saw his disciples. He said, you've all been sent by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to help me. And he genuinely felt that. So, there is a hierarchy in management, so that, the movement actually is organized and functions. But anybody who's in that hierarchy, if they're intelligent, they'll realize that I can't do anything unless Krishna actually empowers me. So therefore, I just have to try and serve the devotees to the best of my ability and make that my priority. And then if Krishna's pleased, everything else will fall into place. it's just like, the first priority in devotional service is to make devotees and help devotees to, function nicely in devotional service and develop their devotional service. And so everybody should be aware of that. That comes before the practical, before, anything else, because that's the thing which will actually motivate devotees and create a situation where they function nicely together and things will happen. Basically. So we should see like that. It's not just a matter of superficially saying Prabhu or like that. It's part of the Vaishnav culture to follow that, because that's the culture of the spiritual world. And it's alien to us because the culture of the material world is to actually, become successful, and success is measured by how you do better than somebody else. And we should be careful not to bring that into devotional service. And, we're well situated when we think, I'm not really qualified for this service, but somehow or other Krishna's put me into it. So let me just do my best and depend on Krishna. Krishna says, Chetasa Sarvakarma Maya Sanyasya Matpara Buddhiyogam Supashricha Achita Satarambhava. In Bhagavad Gita, it says just in all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So that's our mood, is that we're actually not capable of anything unless Krishna empowers us. And that will, help us to be sober and have humility when we're dealing with others. But, I think it came with Bhakti Maharaj, who said that servant leader, that's the same principle. Even, I remember one devotee, it was actually Dhanavir Swami, no, it's not Dhanavir Swami, it was Mahatma. He was a long-time brahmachari, and he was a Prabhupada disciple, and he joined in Detroit, and after a year, for some reason, they had to have a new temple president, and so they all voted him as temple president. And they were actually, completely dumbfounded what to do. And so he wrote to Prabhupada, he said, they voted me as temple president. And I said, I just don't know what to do. Prabhupada said, that's good. He said, you should think this whole the whole project will collapse unless Krishna helps you. And that's just, but, we've got the habit of, getting in the way. We get in the way, that's the point. And then when we get in the way, so many unhealthy things can happen. We have to chill out. It means that Krishna's the doer, but we just make big effort, in a peaceful mind. Not necessarily a peaceful mind, we have to make a mental effort sometimes. It's like, but we've got that satisfying background to know that, if Krishna wants it to work, it'll work. And there's always our devotee can actually neutralize everything and see everything that, that is Krishna's arrangement somehow or other. Everybody knows this philosophy, it's just a matter of applying it. That's a difficulty. That's why we're actually faced with, different situations in devotional service to make us more dependent.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Govinda Prabhu.
Well, dear devotees, Maharaj, please, we thank you. We thank you so much. And we thank you from so many different angles. Just being here, sharing your love and wisdom with us. Because personally, this is what I believe, that we need knowledge. So whenever we have somebody speak to us from the scriptures, it's beautiful. But personally, I believe even much more beautiful than somebody speaking from the scriptures is the love behind whatever the individual is speaking. And we can feel that love. So that makes it so awesome to have your association. and blessing our family to grow in Krishna consciousness, especially with the newborn child. This is so important and very much appreciated. So, from
Yeah,
so
thank you.
many angles, we appreciate you so much, Maharaj.
Yes, I appreciate you as well. You've got such a nice program here and so many enthusiastic devotees who are listening on a regular basis. It's a formula for success in everything you do. So I'm very fortunate that you actually asked me to say something. Thank you.
Well, Maharaj, we apologize for. I know you just a very humble, soft spoken individual. I don't like to talk much, but we engage you, and apologies. Even though, well, the word is, I don't want to keep talking. I am going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our appreciation. Our revered speaker, His Holiness DAYANANDA SWAMI MAHARAJ. Jai. Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Ram, Hare Ram,
Hare
Rama
Rama,
Ram.
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare. Vancha
Mancha
kalpa kripa
Kalpa
kripacha Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. All glories to His Holiness Dayananda Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.